Look, it's quite incredible what is going on at this moment in time, and we've got to talk about it when it comes to Sunderland and their level of efficiency at the Premier League. And do you know what, you guys? It's not fair. It's not fair, and you shouldn't be doing this, Sunderland. Look, incredible! What an unbelievable stat! I think that puts Sunderland second in the English Premier League, and I need to run the stats on this, and I will find it with the days coming up, of which, I'm a football aficionado and love the game, so I will have a look at this. But it is actually incredible what they've managed to do today, and it is symptomatic of Sunderland overall this season. We've got to talk about it. What they have managed to do in the Premier League with what they've been out of the Premier League since what, 2015, 2014, 2015. Their last, six results have been Sunderland 2, Brentford 1, Palace 0, Sunderland 0, away at Selhurst Park, which is not an easy feat. 10-man Sunderland for the majority of the game, getting back into it against Aston Villa, 1-1 at home, beating Forest away, losing to Man United, of course, and that happens. It is what it is. Even Sunderland fans with the recent results might be disappointed at that with some of the results they've got. Beating Wolves at home and then Chelsea away. That is staggering, and I can't quite believe it. Now, I thought Sunderland would do a reasonably good job this season. I thought they'd stay up. I said this at the very beginning of the year. But to get 17 points at the beginning of the season in 9 games puts Sunderland with 1 loss in 5 and 3 wins in 5. Sunderland fans, I don't know if you actually quite compute this, and you won't do because you've been out, obviously, because you've been out of the Premier League for so long. As a Leeds fan, I've been in the Premier League more recently than what you guys have. To do this, you need to understand what a feat this is. And I'm not saying Sunderland will stay up. I think they will stay up. I've said that from the very beginning. And now I will officially say Sunderland will stay up. Like, I'm convinced of it now. You are nearly 10 games in and on 17 points. Let's have a look at Sunderland's fixtures coming up, by the way. Who have they got coming up next? They've just beaten Chelsea away. They've got Everton at home. With the greatest of respect, you expect Sunderland to maybe get a point there, minimum. It is unbelievable what they have done. And I'm literally looking at their next fixture list right now, and I'm seeing Sunderland at home to Bournemouth. I'm seeing Sunderland away at Fulham. I'm seeing Sunderland at home to Everton. That's throughout the next 4. Guys, this lot are staying up. This lot are staying up. And the recruitment, what they have managed to do in terms of the gambling they have had, in my opinion anyway, I could be wrong, but gambling on the likes of, the African Cup of Nations coming up, of which has been made into a big thing with Sunderland, and I've spoken about it as well. But they've gambled on points. They've gambled on really going for it. They've gambled on. They've trusted what they've brought in. The likes of Talby, who scored what a finish that was. What a finish. Was it Broby holds it up? The new man holds it up, brings Talby into play. What a lovely first-time finish. Under pressure, counter-attack. The big man holds it up, feeds in Talby. There's an argument those two are substitutes. And I'm not saying Talby's going to be substitute week in, week out. Of course, I'm not. But there's an argument he could be a substitute. Broby is, obviously. Isidore getting another goal. And it's such brilliant recruitment from the Championship up when it comes to, you look at Eliza Mienda, you look at Isidore, you look at how they've been able to acclimatise. What Sunderland have done recruitment-wise from the Championship is not just recruit players of which are going to do well in the Championship and accrue value. They've not only done that because these players will accrue value now, but they've actually invested in profiles, athleticism-wise, physicality-wise, of which teams are now doing in the Premier League. So they're now investing in physicality and athleticism to cope with the Premier League. Sunderland have done that in the Championship to cope with the Championship and then to cope with the Premier League. The investment in someone like Joe Bellingham being absolutely, symptomatic of that. And then going, Isidore, Mienda, etc., the physicality side of it, Tri Hume, Dan Ballard, and then going up to the Premier League. But these players being good enough, obviously aside from Job, to cope with the Premier League. Do you know how hard that is to do? How hard that is to do, to believe, to have trust in a model that well, then not only are you bringing in these players that are coming in off the continent, you look at someone like Brian Broby, and then you look at, players like Noah Siddiqui, Habib Diarra, Alderete, players of that ilk, and Michele, players like that, Ronaldo, who was good today, bringing in players like that, and then gelling that group together. There has been such mass investment. And this, bearing in mind, Nottingham Forest, in their first, when they were in the Premier League, and they were a team of invested mass amount of money into their team in that first season, with the likes of Jesse Lingard coming in, Morgan Gibbs-White, etc. They spent a lot of money, okay, on that starting 11 and the squad. They bulked that up to 20-odd players coming in. After 10 games, they had 5 points, or 8 points, I think it was. They were the only two teams in Bournemouth and Forest to buck the trend of the last 12 seasons, where the newly promoted sides come up and, if they don't get more than 10 plus points after, or 11 plus points after 10 games, they go straight back down. They were the only two to buck that trend, right? 5 points after 10 games, Forest had, I believe it was. Sunderland have got 17 points after 9 games. That is unbelievable. And look, I'm a Leeds United fan. My club are doing okay at this moment in time, but you have to give plaudits to Sunderland. Now, my club, they finished, 24 points behind in the Championship? And this isn't like it's done or anything like that, or whatever. There's still a long way to go. That AFCON period is going to be massive. Of course, the second half of the season can see injuries. It can see other clubs strengthening, of which Sunderland might not be able to do to that amount. But, when you're looking at strikers that they've got in Mienda and Isidore and Brian Broby, who looks like a good player as well. And, we know what you're going to get from Isidore and Mienda. You look at the deputies that are going to come in the January period with the likes of, Dan Neil and Chris Rigg, etc. It's not going to be that much of a thwarted Sunderland side that aren't going to pick anything up, in that January period, of which people are looking at and saying, oh, they're going to lose every single game. They're not going to lose every single game. They're just not. They're not going to lose every single game. They've got too much of a framework, too much of a regimented structure, of which Sunderland are now hard to beat. Really, really hard to beat. I'm looking at that team, that side today that they put out. I'm also looking at Chelsea, who might have had a little bit of an off day, but Sunderland are becoming tough to beat. They were crap against. Look, guys, I don't think they were good against Wolves. Don't think they were good against Wolves. They beat Wolves 2-0. Do you know what a marker of a good side that is? A mark of a good side that is. To play up against Wolves, to beat Wolves pretty comfortably, and to not play well. They've gone away to Chelsea. And how many of the other teams can say that? As a Leeds United fan, see around me, as a Leeds United fan, that gives me hope that my team can maybe do the same. Maybe in the next 6 games, when we've got Brighton, when we've got Forest. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm looking at Sunderland now and thinking, well, I know Sunderland's recruitment is very different to Leeds. I completely understand that. But I'm looking at Sunderland. Sunderland are giving me hope as a newly promoted side that, we can go to Forest and we can go to Brighton and we can go to these sides and pick something up, because Sunderland have gone to Forest, they've gone to Chelsea, they've gone to these away sides and picked up points. And hopefully it's a more effective way of looking at the newly promoted sides. Burnley beat Leeds United. Burnley are looking strong as well, I think, against the teams which they can realistically beat. Leeds are picking up points. Sunderland are just far and away, their recruitment team is just needs such a pat on the back. Regis Labrie has been able to adapt to the Premier League seamlessly when it comes to adaptation, when it comes to strategies, tactics, player personnel, all of which he is a Premier League manager, Regis Labrie. 100%. 100%. Second in the division. Sunderland, absolutely flying. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Are you impressed? Are you not impressed? Is it just a patch, or is this Sunderland for the remainder of the season? Like, comment, subscribe. See you soon.